Welcome back, everybody. How's it going? So, today we're gonna be doing a lot of things, but firstly, we're gonna be beginning with a little civil war, a little warm up civil war. And that's gonna be with the country I've neglected for a while now, Bengal. But it's actually gonna start down here. Basically, people are like really mad that Bengal still has this colony because everyone that lives here is like really rich, and they've basically just fled from Bengal because the country is genuinely collapsing. So everyone's like, "Yo, there's people that are richer than everyone in here combined that don't even live in here. They live like over here or over here." And basically, public outrage keeps growing over the fact that these guys still have colonies that take so much money to maintain, even though the country itself is actually getting cooked right now. I mean, their only functioning territory that isn't like over here is this, and that's funded 110% by Shanghai alone. So yeah, basically a civil war basically just begins after protests turn really violent. So yeah, really protests begin happening, and then they turn really violent because people basically realize, you know what? Protests are not about to do nothing. We need a completely new government. Because the government basically just ignores the protests. They don't do anything. They don't harm the protesters, but they also don't acknowledge the protesters. And people eventually get really mad at that, and they're like, you know what, at least acknowledge this, bro. And so they start turning violent more and more, and as more and more people realize, more and more like criminals realize that they can use the protests as cover to commit crimes and not actually get punished for them. That starts happening, and eventually it just goes really bad. But yeah, it's a little bit too late to stop it because the civil war begins, and actually the blue team kind of gets half involved. The blue team basically just kind of says that, you know what, for strategic reasons they need to take over this and this, and so they launch little military operations, quote unquote, and they take over this thing like almost immediately. Now Shanghai kind of tries to stop this, and they get really mad and they start like absolutely blowing stuff up over here, but so far it's completely gone. And then over here the elites panic and escape, and the rest of the colony gets completely destroyed. The elites of Bengal actually escape into this Crimean colony where they continue to live a normal life. The blue team doesn't care about those elites. They're not going to chase them. But it's a little bit Crimea getting involved in Asian stuff is a little bit weird. And maybe we'll see them develop alliances in Asia further. But yeah, as of now, the outskirts of the Bengal country are like completely under rebel control. And at this point, there's still no main group leading this, and it's pretty scattered, which is why they're not really able to push into urban areas, and they kind of just get stuck there. In fact, they actually start getting pushed back with the entire coastline being retaken. But after all of this, one guy finally emerges from one of the main militant groups. Now, most of these are peaceful protesters who are now done with the country, but this guy is from a militant group that always was a military that was always like a militant group. Like they were even before the protest, they were violent. And he actually has links to the Somali guys or the Somali rebels. So the Somali rebels immediately start supporting him, and they basically just tell him, you know what, bro? If you can get one port, just one port, we can fly in a bunch of stuff. And yeah, that's exactly what he does. He leads a little group. He comes over here. He grabs that up, and yeah, basically these guys are now being fueled by Somalia as well, and they're able to retake all of this stuff. And because he's the guy who's helping bring in the most supplies now, he's basically turned into the leader of the rebellion. And his group kind of just the Bengal Republic Liberation Army. They basically become the overwhelming force, uniting the rebels, and they use all that to take over the capital. Let's take a look at the aftermath of this. So basically, moral of the story: when your country has been declining for the past 50 episodes, maybe it's time to give up instead of continuing to colonize abroad. Maybe, just a suggestion. So, okay, firstly, the blue team instantly takes this and this. That's not even a question. That stuff is gone. That is never seeing the light of day, the light of Bengali day again. The capital, that's also, oops, wrong color. The capital is also gone. That capital is getting moved immediately, and that is actually going to get moved over here, and that's going to be the port. It's going to get moved to the port where those guys were flying stuff in from. But this government doesn't even rest for like 5 seconds, because immediately after this, The peace treaty is done. The new government's here. They hold the kind of elections, rigged elections, basically. They hold all of those, and they basically decide to do what every Bengali government has done, and they move even more east. They decolonize all of this because it's mostly burnt rubble, and they colonize all of this. Now, the reason for this colonization is because a bunch of Bengalis actually started living in there, like a bunch. They started living in there because they were sick of the actual government. So basically, these guys were like, you know what? Let's do it. And on account of doing this, they actually moved the capital even more east a little bit to symbolize how the two sides of Bengal are now connected, I guess. And as you can see, for the first time, something is touching the Myanmar Burma colony that the blue team has, which is definitely going to scare the blue team a little bit. But yeah, other than that, I think we can move on to the next thing for this episode. The blue team is definitely not on like good terms with Bengal right now because they're scared. They're like, "Yo, why you touching us, bro? Like, stay on your side of Asia, and we'll stay on our side." Well, actually, they own the entire Asia. I forgot. Blue team has literally everything. They're on every side. They're north, south, and east. I guess these guys need to stay in the center or something. Yeah. Moving on. I think this capital is too small. I think I need to make this a little bit bigger. Let's make it size 10. Yeah, okay, that looks good enough, I guess. Yeah, anyways, moving on from that. The Saigon storyline. So obviously the blue team has reacted to all of this. They're like, okay, that's not good. Um, Saigon, these guys, these pink guys, actually decide to take advantage of this, and they launch a pretty brutal invasion. And as they're launching this invasion, they're gonna completely destroy. Oh, oops! They're gonna completely destroy these guys, like absolutely destroy them. And as they're destroying them, Philippines is basically gonna realize, you know what we can do with this island? Give it to these guys, and the elites are gonna fly out. They're gonna basically just run away. Actually, let's change that up a little bit. So these guys are actually going to spend all their money to purchase this island, and that's going to make these guys really mad. And that's what's going to cause the invasion. And because the blue team's occupied in Bengal at this moment, these guys take that opportunity and they launch the invasion. And this is what's going to trigger the all-out Saigon War. Little change of plans there. Basically, a united front is created in the east, where these guys launch a major. You can barely even see that. We're just going to use the green color for this. Uh, These two, they launch a united front to basically liberate the east of the country. And this is really scary for the pink guys because their capital is right there. And while that's happening, these guys, let's just, they're not surviving that, let's be honest. But Philippines gets involved obviously, and they're going to use their really good military navy to keep this land off limits. Keep control of that. They're also going to start sending a lot of support to these guys and these guys, and that's actually going to help capture the capital a little bit, not fully capture it, but reach it, which is going to lead to a ceasefire. Um, I know, not that impressive of a thing, but like impressive of a, you get it. So the capital is immediately getting moved. Firstly, like first thing in this peace treaty, capital is getting moved, and it's going to get moved to a more central position in the country, and that position is going to be right here. That's where it's going to get moved. Okay, maybe not, maybe right here. Yup. And then these guys are just going to expand a little eastward like that. These guys can have that south region. Actually, no, I think the green guys will take the entire thing probably. Mostly because it was just their troops who were involved, but also because they basically want to unite with these guys anyways. Like both sides want to unite together to one mega state because these guys have a lot of resources and money, but no way to use it because their diplomatic outreach is really small. Because if someone wants something from this land, they can just go to the green guys instead. And yeah, eventually that is going to lead to these guys uniting into one mega state. We'll just keep the color as green, but they are now one state. And the capital city is also going to get moved to Hong Kong because Hong Kong's just probably the best city in this area right now. Probably the richest city. Yeah. So now we had these guys need a capital. Let's give them the capital. Okay. So now we started off with with 5 countries, and now we're down to 4. And also, these guys one more thing, are going to get accepted into the Blue Team Alliance. Meanwhile, these guys are going to apply to join the Blue Team Alliance. We'll see if they get accepted. Probably not. Next up, Shanghai is basically looking at all of this stuff alongside their border, and they're like, "Yo, what are we doing right now, bro? What are we doing?" And tensions they have basically reached an all-time high. There's literally fighting between the navy of these two, but no official declaration of war yet. There's border skirmishes over here and over here. Not as much over here, but a lot over here. And Shanghai is bombing uh blue team controlled Philippines islands. It's like these guys over here, they're getting absolutely bombarded by Shanghai right now. And Indonesia, they're actually getting their sovereignty violated because Shanghai, they're not allowed to send any ships through Indonesian waters, but they're doing it anyways, and it's getting escorted by military. So like, yeah, tensions are at an all-time high. But first, before we do that, let's just do a quick little African storyline thing. Just get some stuff out of the way real quick. Um, Basically, these guys are gonna expand pretty like heavily, and they're gonna take all of that. Uh, and we're actually gonna have two countries dying off this episode. Firstly, these guys are gone. They did not survive at all. They are officially no longer in the series. They are out. They have been eliminated, and that is because when these guys were formed, a lot of people just went to the Moroccan land in the red team, and then the Moroccans became independent, and they let even more people in. So yeah, because of that, and because of the fact that these guys couldn't afford to colonize any more land, and they were both basically just built upon the fact that they didn't want to get invaded by the blue team, and the blue team never actually invaded them. So people lost faith in the government, and they started just moving to Morocco. So now, yeah, and over here, same thing. People have started moving to the red team so much. These guys are genuinely. It feels bad to like kill these guys because they've been here for so long, but they're genuinely just a buffer state. Like maybe we should just combine it with the blue team. You feel me? Like that's what's gonna happen. The blue team is just gonna annex these guys just because all their population is blue team citizens at this point. Like literally everyone. Actually, no. 98% of people living in that country are blue team citizens, as well. So that's gonna happen. And since there's no one claiming this anymore, I guess we can just remove that. Actually, I'm not gonna remove that because that is like special land, military land. So I think that internal border is still gonna stay there. Yeah. With that, I think one more thing. The Central Africans are going to expand southeast a little bit. So these guys are starting to expand now. I would personally be worried. I don't think anyone knows these guys exist yet, so we'll have to see. This is how Stan Stan started off as well. No one knew they existed, and then they became one of the, or not Stan Stan, the Mughals, and then they became one of the strongest. Anyway, yeah, let's move on to now our biggest fight of the video, and that is gonna be Shanghai. So basically, one of the skirmish. Yep, skirmish. It's not a good day today, bro. Skirmish. One of who's messaging me, bro? One of the skirmishes. Bro. Skirmish. Are we good right now? One of the skirmishes are gonna go a little bit too far in the north, and they're actually going to result in this war because Shanghai, they've basically given their military like full liberty to do whatever they want on this island, and um and they're gonna do exactly that. They're just gonna be like, you know what? Let's just see how far we can push this, and they do it. And basically, two people over here are really good friends, and they're kind of having a friendly competition over who's. Actually, we'll change that up a little bit. There's two generals here who hate each other a lot. One in the south, one in the north. And the northern guy does that. He's like, let's push the limits. Yo, who's messaging me, bro? I'm recording. Okay. Anyways, in the north, about to crash out. In the north, yo, what is happening? In the north, we're going to one guy. He does that limit thing. He tests the limits. And in the south, the other guy's like, yo, if my northern op can do this, why can't I do it, bro? And he's going to launch a little bit of a skirmish as well. That's going to go even further because they're, competing because they're the two strong, like most popular military leaders on the island. and they know that once the island is united, the strongest one of them is going to be the one who basically like controls the island, and it's going to be put in charge of the island. But yeah, the two immediately start pushing, and as you can see, there is space between them to distinguish them each other. That one. Uh, next up, uh, next up, next up, bro. Okay, appears I cannot speak today. We might just have to end the video here. No, I'm joking. Let's do this. Naval control. Yes, naval control. That's very important, bro. That's very important. Uh, I don't think we need to show naval control. Never mind. We don't need to. We don't need to. We can just get straight into like land warfare. The Japanese are gonna launch an invasion alongside the blue team, like together, onto mainland. These guys. Meanwhile, blue team troops are finally gonna arrive after like an hour, like like 60,000 days. After that, uh, um, yo, I'm losing my train of thought a lot. I can't lie. The blue team troops are finally gonna arrive to help out their Filipino brothers, the Philippines, and in Taiwan. What am I on about, bro? What do I mean Filipino brothers? We're fighting in Taiwan. Anyways, they're gonna come to finally help them, and they're gonna instantly take the north. And they're gonna actually turn this into basically uh their base of operations, because they're gonna fly out a bunch of stuff in here, and then they're gonna use that to basically launch a massive invasion of the south. And they're not gonna make these guys join the war because they want these guys to be strong in case Saigon has any other conflicts. But they are gonna basically go to them and say, "Yo, can we use your land?" And they're like, and obviously these guys are gonna say yes. They're literally trying to join the alliance, bro. Why would they say no? And using their land, a second, even bigger invasion is launched. And at this point, Shanghai has realized that there is no victory in this war anymore, and that's basically because another thing is gonna happen. Obviously, Shanghai now normally every time the blue team just invades modern day Shanghai, which is over here, but not where it is in the Civilization Restarts universe. Every time the blue team just invades that, and the war is done, and the blue team wants this to be over fast again, so they're gonna do that. Uh, they do that, and then but this time it actually does not end. The war does not end, which is big. Meanwhile, in Japan, they're gonna continue pushing, actually capturing the entire south of Korea, south of South Korea. Um, Meanwhile, the blue team is also gonna help them by taking over Seoul. So that I just want you to realize this is probably most likely the final nail in the coffin for Shanghai being considered a first world country and being considered a major superpower in this series. Actually, that major superpower thing was gone a while ago, but even like a regional power, definitely not going to happen anymore. Meanwhile, rebels actually begin popping up again. So way back in the day, there were rebels over here, and they're finally back because they're gonna get a bunch of money from the blue team, who's gonna basically say that this is your time to take over that government, and they're actually gonna give their full support to these guys. And they're actually gonna get pretty close. However, ultimately they are gonna be defeated just because they don't have that same like thing with them, like that same power, that same like support that the people gave, because the people of Shanghai are actually on the side of Shanghai now, which makes this so much more harder because they're like, yo, we didn't even do anything, and our allies, because remember they wanted peace and they wanted Shanghai to have a lot of alliances, like the people, and Shanghai did make an alliance over here and got overran by the blue team. Then they made one over here, and I think the blue team played a pretty large part in the reason that civil war started as well. So obviously the people are a little bit mad at the blue team right now because a lot of them really only wanted the country of Shanghai to have a lot of relations with a lot of different countries, and that ended up not really happening. Meanwhile, these guys, the Japanese, continuing to expand, obviously, and then they're actually also going to expand over here. But this is mostly just going to be to repel Shanghai. I think this island is probably going to become uncolonized, just because no point in having that random island when they have all of this, and the I think even like up till here, there's no more like cities. It's just small villages. Cause like look at how far down the government, like the capital, is. So yeah. After that, I think what else is left? Oh yeah, yeah. Here, these guys are gonna continue pushing. Now these South guys are gonna kind of realize, you know what? We want control of this island so bad. why don't we just join the blue team and tell the blue team to give us control? And that's exactly what they do. They surrender this land back to the Philippines, and they're basically like, yo, if you give us control over North Taiwan, we'll just help you instead. And the blue team takes that deal immediately, which leads to these guys actually getting pushed back really hard, and the general that's controlling all that getting killed, which is followed by Taiwan falling. And from here, this entire thing is used as a base, and multiple more invasions are launched. Uh, the Shanghai region, the actual Shanghai region, is going to completely fall apart and deteriorate. The blue team is going to continue their invasion over here, and they're actually going to be able to unify all of their fronts at the end of the day and create one unified front that has now just taken over the coastline of the south. And Shanghai is scared. I can't lie. Shanghai is scared, and I would be scared as well because the blue team just continues to capture more and more territories. For the first time in a while, Beijing area is also going to be invaded. And at this point, Shanghai's kind of realized that maybe we should have just signed the ceasefire that the blue team wanted. Also, blue team is going to give this all back to Japan. They're just going to let Japan handle that, and Japan is going to keep on pushing, eventually getting all the way over here and finally calming down a little bit. Yeah, I can't lie. I think at this point the ceasefire is imminent, but and all of Shanghai's council, like everybody in Shanghai, wants that ceasefire because they just lost all of this, except for the king, and this is what's finally going to trigger another war. And basically, the king's guard, the military, everybody, they're gonna basically just take over the outskirts of the capital, and they're gonna demand that the king surrenders, not to them, like to the blue team, like signs the ceasefire. At first, they didn't want control, and they didn't want like the military general who's in charge of this to become king. But eventually, after the king decides to not listen to their demands of ceasefire immediately for another month or two, while the blue team is actually going to expand over here and capture this city as well. Uh, these guys are basically gonna be like, you know what? Fine, it is what it is. The king is gone, and they're gonna take over the capital. The military guy is gonna become the leader, and he's gonna sign an immediate, unconditional peace treaty. I know it doesn't look like a lot, but it's a lot. So, firstly, Taiwan's an independent country now. Philippines grabs up that and gets their Taiwan stuff back. Japan, probably the most beneficial, the most like benefited, I guess. They get Korea, South Korea, and Shanghai. And some in the blue team even want them to take this, but the blue team decides to keep these rebels kind of on their good side. I mean, they're never gonna be on their good side, but like neutral. And they decide to keep the North intact. Talking about financial stuff though, the blue team basically tells these guys to decolonize all of this, all of this. They want all of these extra colonies to be decolonized. Slowly but surely. And right now, I think in the next couple of days, in the next couple of videos, Asia's probably going to start looking like this. Probably not. It's probably going to stay like this. But the plan that the blue team has is to make this all uncolonized land. This little spearhead definitely is getting completely reduced. And also all this in the north, Siberia and everything, that's going to go away, probably. But yeah. With that, let's move on to Persia, the final thing of today. And that's just going to basically be a little bit of a war that the blue team is going to carry out, mostly for PR purposes. Mostly. Like, I want to make that clear. This is mostly a PR, public relations stunt, and has nothing to actually do with anything going on in the world. Like, literally does not have any lore implications. Literally completely done for PR because the blue team needs it and because Persia is weak at the moment. Okay, let me make that. Okay, nope, that looks really bad. Well, I'm gonna explain what I'm doing in a second. Okay, maybe we just make it go like that. Does that look good? Good enough. And I think yeah, that. Yep, yep. No, nope. Yep. Okay. Firstly, this is gonna get uncolonized. This is how it's all gonna start. Basically, this is gonna get uncolonized because these guys basically just cannot afford it anymore. And that's just gonna make the blue team realize this is a now or never type of war to basically gain control over Persia. Now at this point they don't need control over Persia anymore. That time has gone. but they want it. They want it. They want that, and they basically get the Arab Gulf Republic to do it for them by invading these two lands while they invade that land. And these guys are going to get involved mostly because getting this, I just wanted to make the border look cleaner, but getting this is going to help them like increase the front line with the rebels into a place that the rebels did not expect to have to defend, where they were storing a lot of their ammo and stuff. And this war is gonna go pretty fast because I'm honestly out of time. And after all the objectives of all the ops are completed, Persia is going to basically just sign that easy ceasefire because they don't want to get completely cooked. The Arab Sea Republic is gonna take that, and we will actually change this a little bit. These guys are actually going to only take it up until there, and this is actually going to become uncolonized. Um, these guys are going to take that and that. Yeah. So, moral of the story: if your country is collapsing, again, I'm going to repeat this because all the countries need to understand this in this series. If your country is collapsing, stop trying to pick fights with people you know you're going to lose to. And another piece of advice: if the blue team is in your neighborhood, maybe stay on their good side. Just a suggestion. Maybe keep them in your list of friendly countries so you don't get a Shanghai or a Persia treatment. Remember, Persia's downfall is entirely due to the blue team. There's no one else you can blame. I guess kind of maybe, very maybe, very maybe the red team, because they were the ones that carried it out in this area. But even then, they were really broke and they needed money, so the blue team just paid them for it. Even then, that's also another thing. The blue team doesn't need to pay for their wars anymore. They have their own military now, which is also like something I would personally be really scared of. But yeah, with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Is there anything I'm missing? No. Good. Bye.